Hi, so this is entry one of my RPJ, and it'll be based around the 5 Ways of Knowing by Matthews and Ross from 2010. I'll jump around a little bit, but there's references here in the bottom corner based on some of the material I'm dealing with. And I'll start by explaining that I'll jump between I and we a little bit, where we refers to Leinster Rugby, where I am part of the rugby management team and the head of coach development. So we have recently been reviewing our coaching methods and our coach development programs, asking why we do what we do and is there a better way. I found that our traditional method of coaching was just that. It was traditional, based on coaches who have come before me. I would say that it was founded on a mix of belief and authoritative ways of knowing. Belief in that it had been long-standing being the way, and I believe that we'd been doing a good job. And I've backed that up on, inverted commas, evidence of the players who have come through the coaching system to elite level to date. Authoritative, because coaches who came before me did it this way, or advocated for this approach, or even produced textbooks or coaching manuals outlining this as best practice. My personal experiences of this traditional method of coaching, however, challenge this method of coaching. And I theorized, so I had a theory that player understanding leading to player decision making would have a positive impact on the type of players that we developed. The first place I looked for a better way, based on that understanding, was to Teaching Games for Understanding framework by Bunker and Thorpe. But the coach's experience of this, of the tactical awareness element and the decision-making element, affirmed my belief that we were on the right track. However, others' deep-founded belief was that this was at the expense of the skill execution element, which is a big part of the traditional approach to date. Devising modified game forms, so up here at the top, was also problematic for coaches who were not used to coaching this way, and we didn't have a readily available bank of resources to support coaches. In this confusion, then I suppose Teaching Games for Understanding was not applied in a consistent way by coaches who jump between skill-focused traditional approaches and the more tactical understanding-focused Teaching Games for Understanding. Across our organisation then, we lacked a coherent method of coaching or coherent approach. Undeterred, I knew I was kind of on the right track, or where I theorised where this is where I wanted to go. So I searched for greater empirical ways of knowing, or some greater evidence. I found this somewhat in Newell's constraints-led approach, which I think better represented the interaction of practice design and environmental factors, both social and physical, on impacting the individual learner and his or her needs. Based on the teachings of authoritative figures in the field from both St Mary's and from elsewhere, our own experiences in applying this model, we found a connection between the individual, so player-centered focus, the method of coaching, and the transfer from practice to performance. Newell proposed 3 elements to task constraints, so the outcome goal, rules that constrain response dynamics, and factors that constrain the response dynamics. And I believe it was this connection between the response of the individual and the purposeful task design that helped coaches apply a coaching methodology more compatible with the intention of developing player understanding and decision making. Essentially, this game form from here was more purposeful when considered in this environment with task, environment and individual connection and interaction. This coaching approach, however, was not articulated in the way we developed coaches. So onto this side for the coach development. This area focused almost entirely on formal education, so coaching courses, and identified individual skills in isolation rather than in context. It also didn't take a position on the role of the coach or the coach-to-player relationship, encouraging instead that coaches find their own way. essentially describe their own philosophy, which Nicholson in 2016 describes as very difficult for coaches who are only starting out on their education or starting out as coaches. As our workforce have become more familiar with the constraints-led approach and their own experiences of coaching this way and in relation to coach development in this way, reinforced information that was previously gleaned from authoritative figures and things that we provided in the form of evidence to back it up. Our workforce started to advocate for this approach when they were working with coaches. In this way, our new belief began to impact on the content and delivery of non-formal coach offerings, such things as workshops, seminars, communities of practice. And from there, it has bled into our formal education courses. To this date, we're still on a journey. I'm still on this journey. But the constraints-led, player-centered, game-based, and by that I'm talking about context and transfer of task design, this philosophy is currently articulated as the explicit coaching strategy of Leinster Rugby and is in some ways expressed in the work of the rugby development staff, but we're by no means at the end of a journey. I'm by no means at the end of the journey, and I'm still theorising and looking for greater empirical evidence to affirm that I'm on the right track and to impact on this coach education, this coach development element based on the work of coaches in the field. So this interaction between coaching and coach development in a consistent, compatible and coherent way. Thank you.